Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is March 9th, and this is my weekly shop update. So, biggest thing going on in the shop this week is the first of the waterfall tables. The main table, as you can see, is now a waterfall. So, last time you guys saw this was just a slab laying on a bench, so let me catch you up to where we are right now. So the first thing was to cut the slab into two pieces and make those cuts at bevel angles. I went for a 45-degree bevel so that the leg was at 90 degrees to the top, but any angle could really be used for a table like this. Once the bevels were cut, I glued some plywood cawls to both pieces. Those will allow me to clamp the two pieces together and allow me to check the fit up of that joint. The bevel cuts were alright, but they weren't perfect, so I used a hand plane to plane the ends of each piece until they met up perfectly. Once the joint was closing up and fitting nicely, I could go ahead and add some joinery to this. So on this one, I'm doing a router cut floating tenon. So the process for cutting those mortises was pretty simple. The router and edge guide just hooked onto the cawls, and the extended area of the cawl gave a little more support for the router to ride on, and also protected the corner of the slab from the edge guide as I was doing this operation. I cut 4 mortises for floating tenons. They were about 2 inches long and 3 inches wide. Then after that, I could get things ready for glue up. I cut away some of the material on the cawls so that I could reveal the grain underneath. I could make sure that the grain on both of these slabs was coming together perfectly at that corner. I used epoxy for the glue up, so I had a lot of working time to get this thing put together and situated without having to worry about the glue setting up on me before I got everything figured out and perfect. Once the epoxy was set up, I could do the most fun part of the project, which was the destructive removal of the cawls. I used a chisel to split them down one of the plies, and I got rid of the bulk of them, and then the remainder and the glue that was on the surface of the slab just got cleaned up with a sander. And here is the resulting waterfall joint. The grain lines up really nicely across that corner, and this thing is super tight. There's no gap anywhere in that seam. And having these cawls on there made that process ridiculously easy, with no risk of any issues with my joint because of failure from the cawls or anything. Since those things were so rigidly attached there, the clamping pressure was really evenly distributed to the joint without having to worry about the clamps potentially bowing this piece of plywood as they were applying pressure if it was only secured in a few different spots. And then the other thing that's nice about this too is since it was so well attached, I didn't have to worry about these things breaking off at any point, so I could hammer on these things to get the whole thing aligned without having to worry about these breaking off because they're just not going to go anywhere. Now normally in the past you've seen me use bits of cedar for this, and this time I used plywood because I don't have any more cedar in the shop. Didn't really feel like going to buy any just for cawls, so I had the offcut from making the router sled to use for this, and actually kind of like this a lot better. You can have more control over the removal because you're literally just splitting it down one of the plies and causing the ply to fail, not the connection between the wood and the glue. So pretty cool. This is coming along quite nicely. So also this week I did finish up the pictures for the highboy. I was posting those on social media last week, but I also have them on my website as well. If you want to check those out, I'll leave a link to that down in the description. And I did start editing the build video for the highboy, editing down all the guild videos into the video that kind of summarizes the whole thing. And that is going pretty well. Probably be at least another week on that. It's quite the undertaking. Also, since the highboy is done and I have more time to work on giant projects again, I did get back into the sawmill plans, so these are progressing again. All of the technical drawings are done, like totally done, and I think they're all verified and consistent, like all the numbering and detailing is all consistent now. The thing we're working on this week was giving everything an actual name, putting together a parts index so that it'll be an index that shows every single page that a part is on for easy reference, and a section on scaling the cut capacity in case you want to change that overall log handling size. So another giant project that's almost done, but that's what's going on. Wow, that's what's going on with me this week. Let's take a look at some viewer projects. First this week is a captain's bed by Matt. Matt made this bed for his 3-year-old daughter. It's made from red oak that was harvested from his yard. The trees were cut down and milled on site. The headboard and footboard are constructed with biscuit joints, and they are attached to the bed frame with threaded inserts and bolts so the drawers can be easily switched around. The drawer fronts and face are all constructed from the same board for a continuous grain flow across them all. The bed is finished with early American stain, oil poly, and paste wax. Next is a marble track by Geoffrey. Geoffrey was commissioned to make this marble track for his friend's grandchildren for a Christmas gift. It's made from oak and some babinga, and this was his first time doing anything with splines. You can also check out Geoffrey's YouTube channel for a video that shows the entire process to build this marble track. Next is a sofa table by Mike. It's made from red oak and is 6.5 inches wide and 60 inches long. This table was the first time he'd done any through tenons as well as some half-blind dovetails. Last this week is Appalachian Morning sent in by Julie. This piece of art resulted from a mishap when trying to resaw a board, and the board wasn't quite lined up very well. So this table will probably be done next week. I do have to do the finish prep, get the finish on here, and then make the little base for that end. Although this cardboard box and 6x6 is kind of growing on me a little bit. And then I'll fly through the other 2 waterfall tables and get those done as well. And that'll be another guild project behind me. Woohoo! So I think that's about all I have for you this week. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today, anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment, as well as I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.